All right, guys, today we are going to continue converting from standard form to vertex form. Yesterday we did it when our a value was always equal to 1 by a process called completing the square. Today your a value will not be 1. So we're going to use a different method. This method works whatever your a value is. So you might prefer this over what we did yesterday. So let's dive in. I am given the quadratic function f of x is equal to 3x squared minus 12x plus 16. And they want me to find my axis of symmetry, my vertex, and write it in vertex form. And we're going to do it all by using algebra. So here we go. All right. I first need to identify my a, b, and c value. You don't really need c, but you definitely need your a and you definitely need your b. So my a value, the value in front of the x squared, and my b value, the value in front of the x. And my c value is 16, but I don't need it in this case. So we know that a is 3. We know that b is a negative 12. And we know that c is a positive 16. All right. So to find my axis of symmetry, aka that line that cuts the parabola in half, there's an equation for it. X, because that's what the axis of symmetry is. Every time we draw that vertical line that splits the parabola in half, it's always touching the x-axis. So the formula is x is equal to negative b over 2a. That's it. So to find that x value, we are going to substitute b and a into the formula. So negative, and I'm going to write me a parentheses. What is my b value? Negative 12, all divided by 2 times my a value. What is the a value? A positive 3. Boom. Now I take that and I legit put it in my calculator. Negative times my b value of negative 12 divided by 2 times my a value of 3. And I get 2. So x is equal to 2. That means the line that is going to split the parabola in half should be at x is equal to 2. And so let's see if we are right. X is equal to 2. And it absolutely does split the parabola in half. All right. All right, now we need to find the y value because we want to find the vertex. So we're going to use x to find y with function notation. Throwback lesson. All right, so the equation is f of x is equal to 3x squared minus 12x plus 16. But I already know my x value. The x value is 2. That means everywhere I see an x in my equation or my function, I am going to input an x. So f of 2, because that's what x is equal to 3 times x, which is 2, squared minus 12 times x, which is 2, plus 16. I cannot put a 2 with the 16 because there ain't no x with the 16. Now I put it in the calculator. So 3, open parentheses, 2, squared minus 12 times 2 plus 16. And my y value, f of 2, is equal to 4. What is my vertex? Because this is x, my input, and this is y, my output. So what is my vertex going to be? 2 for x and 4 for y. What is the axis of symmetry? We just found it. Axis of symmetry is x is equal to 2. There goes the 2 right there. Now, is this a maximum or a minimum? My A value is positive, which means if I were to see it on a graph, it should look like this because it's smiling because my A value is positive, which means the vertex is at its lowest point, which will give me a minimum. Well, what is the minimum value? Y is equal to 4 because that's how low it goes. Now, I can take this vertex and my A value and write me an equation in vertex form by simply substituting. I know that my A value, boom, 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 is 3. Times x minus my H value. H and X are the same thing. So what is my H value? 2. And it's a positive 2. So all I'm going to do is going to put the 2 right there. Close parentheses squared plus my K value. What is my K value? Plus 4. And I have written it in vertex form by simply finding the actual vertex and substituting it into the equation. So to write it in vertex form, you don't need nothing but A, H, and K. And if you got A, H, and K, all you got to do is substitute it. So let's see if we wrote it correctly. 3 times x minus 2 squared plus 4. And it's right because they're equivalent because they match. All right, let's look at the inside of our foldable. The directions tell us to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex, then sketch each parabola and convert to vertex form. Here we go. So I made us a little flow chart. The first thing we're going to do is look at our equation and identify our A and B value because I need A and B to find my axis of symmetry. I got to find X before I can find Y. So this is written in standard form, AX squared plus BX plus C. What is my A value, aka the number in front of X squared? Positive 2. Well, what is my B value? AKA the number written in front of the X term. I ain't got none. It ain't no X down here, so I do not have one. So that means that my A value would be 2 and my B value would be 0 because there is no linear term in here. This -3 represents my constant, and I don't need that constant value to find my axis of symmetry. Questions? So, to find my axis of symmetry, we're going to say that X is equal to negative B. What is my B value? 0, all divided by 2 times A. What is my A value? 2. So, use your calculator to simplify like I just did in the example before you. And you should get X is equal to 0. Now we're going to use this X is equal to 0, aka my axis of symmetry, to find my Y value using function notation. So we have f of X is equal to 2x squared minus 3. But I know that the value for X, my input value, is 0. Therefore, everywhere in my equation that I see an X, I am going to substitute the number 0. And so we get 2 times 0 squared minus 3. Use your calculator like I did in the example before so you can find the value. So 2 times 0 squared minus 3. I cannot put the f of 0 in the calculator. If I do, it ain't going to give me an answer. So f of 0 would be equal to a -3. So now I have my X value, my input, and my Y value, my output. So what is the vertex? 0, -3. All right, so when I say sketch the graph, I just want to know, is it going to be a happy face or a smiling face? Well, my A value is a positive 2. So since it is a positive 2, that means your parabola should smile. Now we're going to write it in vertex form. What is your A value? 2, open parentheses, x minus h. Notice we're only substituting the things that are colored. What is your h value? 0 squared plus my k value, boom, 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 -3. Now we just sketched this graph. Is it a maximum or a minimum? It's going to be a minimum. And what is the minimum value going to be? Y is equal to -3. All right, so let's use our Desmos to check. That's my standard form. And I'm going to type in my vertex form to see if they are equivalent, aka do they match? And they do. And my vertex is 0, -3, like it said. And my axis of symmetry is 0 because it's splitting it in half. All right, let's look at our next example. We have f of x is equal to -x squared plus 4. And I need to identify my a and b value so I can find my axis of symmetry. What is your a value? I just see a negative right there. No number, which means that my a value is a -1. What about the b value? A +4. So I'm going to use my formula so I can find my axis of symmetry. The line is going to split the parabola in half. So we get x is equal to negative times my b, which is 4, divided by 2 times my a, which is a -1. Close my parentheses. Use your calculator to find the value of x. And you should get x is equal to a +2. So we're going to use that axis of symmetry to find our y value so we can actually find our vertex. So my function is f of x is equal to -x squared plus 4x. And I know that x is equal to a +2, so I can input it into my function everywhere I see an x. So all of the black stuff is going to stay the same. So negative times x, which is 2, squared plus 4 times 2. Use your calculator to find f of 2. And you should get f of 2 is equal to 4. So now I have my x value and my y value. What is the vertex? 2, 4. How would your graph look? Your a value is a negative, which means it should be frowning, which means it will look something like this. That parabola is not cute, but... So, is this a maximum or a minimum? It's going to be a maximum because the vertex is going to be high up. What is the maximum value? How high is it? At y is equal to 4. All right, but we got to write it in vertex form. So all I need is a, h, and k, and boom, I got my vertex form. Well, what is the a value? -1 times x minus h. What is your h value? 2 squared plus your k value. What is your k value? A +4. So I'm going to go to Desmos to check and make sure we were right. So we got negative times x minus 2 squared plus 4. And yes, they are equivalent. Giving me a vertex of 2, 4, which is what we said. And let's check our axis of symmetry, splitting it down the middle. All right, let's look at our next problem. Now, this is a good problem because this is standard form, right? Is this written in standard form? No. And so in order for me to identify my A and my B value correctly, I might need to rearrange it. So let's do it. All right. So I want my quadratic term to come first. Which one of these three terms is the quadratic one that has the exponent of 2? The 4x squared. Therefore, this term should be written first. So I'm going to write it down here. 4x squared. And then my linear term should come next, which would be what? Plus 8x. And then my constant term should come last, which is what? A negative 1. Now it's written in standard form, and I should easily see my A and my B value. My A value would be a positive 4. And my B value would be a positive 8. All right, now we're going to use that to find our axis of symmetry. So x is equal to negative B all divided by 2a. Use your calculator to find the value of x. And you should get x is equal to negative 1. Now we're going to use that x value to find our y value using function notation. So my equation is f of x is equal to 4x squared plus 8x minus 1. And I know that my x value, aka my input, is negative 1. So that means in my equation, everywhere I see an x, I can input a negative 1. So 4 times negative 1 squared plus 8 times negative 1 minus 1. Use your calculator to find f of negative 1. And f of negative 1 should equal a negative 5. What is the x value? And what is the y value? What is the vertex? Negative 1, comma, negative 5. Would you have a smiley face or a frown? You should have a smiley face. All right. Is this a maximum or a minimum? It is a minimum because the vertex is at a low point. What is the minimum value? A negative 5. But we still need to write it in vertex form. So I need my A, my H, and my K. What is the A value? Times x minus h. What is the h value? A negative 1. So that's exactly what we're going to write in for h, a negative 1. Squared plus k. Well, what is the k value? A negative 5. Now, I cannot leave my answer like this because those double negatives right there. So when we have two negatives together, aka a negative times a negative, what does it give you? A positive. So my vertex form is going to change to 4x plus 1 squared minus 5. And I use my Desmos. I type both of them in, which means they are equivalent because it's the same. My vertex was indeed negative 1, negative 5. And my axis of symmetry was indeed a negative 1. All right, let's look at our last problem, which is another good problem because standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. But when I look at this says negative 3x squared minus 42 is equal to 24x. So all of my terms are not even on the same side. So I need to get this term over here with the rest of them. Is it going to go first Is it going to go last or in the middle? And you should have said in the middle. But the thing is I can't just pick it up and put it over there now, because this is like an equation. So negative 3x squared minus 42 is equal to 24x. And if I want to pick this up and move it to the other side, what would I have to do? And hopefully you should have said subtract 24x. And once I do that, I cannot combine all of these terms because none of them are the same. So I should get negative 3x squared minus 24x minus 42. Because these are going to cancel out because they are opposites. And now I have my quadratic term, my linear term, and my constant. What is your A value? And you should have said that your A value was negative 3. What was your B value? You should have said your B value. Get my colors mixed up. You should have said your B value was a negative 24. So A is negative 3 and B is negative 24. All right. Find your axis of symmetry, aka X is equal to negative B. Well, B is negative 24, all divided by 2 times A, which is a negative 3. Use your calculator to find the value for X, and you should get X is equal to a negative 4. Now we're going to use that X value for my axis of symmetry to find my Y value. So the equation is f of X is equal to negative 3x squared minus 24x minus 42. And everywhere I see an X, I know that its value is going to be negative 4. So f of negative 4 is equal to negative 3 times negative 4 squared minus 24 times negative 4. So negative 3 times negative 4 squared minus 24 times negative 4 minus 42. Use your Desmos calculator to find f of negative 4. And you should get f of negative 4 is equal to a positive 6. What is your X value and your Y value for your vertex? You should get negative 4, comma 6. Is this going to be a smiley face or a frown? It's going to be a frown because my A value is negative. All right, is this going to give me a maximum or a minimum? You should have said it's going to be a maximum because the vertex is up high. What will be the maximum value? A positive 6. All right, now vertex form. To write this in vertex form, I need A, I need H, and I need K. What is your A value? A negative 3 times X minus H. What is your H value? Negative 4 squared plus your K value. What is your K value? A positive 6. What's wrong here? Because I can't leave this here. I got to get these double negatives. So double negatives is going to mean that it's going to turn into a positive. So negative 3 times X plus 4 squared plus 6. And I have got my vertex form. And we were right because they are equivalent when I type my standard form, my vertex form, and my axis of symmetry into my Desmos calculator. All right, paste these in your notebook. On Monday, we're going to work on all 3 forms.